November 1970. Florence, Oregon. Population, whatever. A small, quiet town on the Oregon coast, where not much usually happens. But then, a 45-foot sperm whale decides to nap on the beach, like permanently. The townsfolk were both fascinated and horrified. Now, dead whales smell bad. Really bad. The stench was unbearable, spreading through the town like wildfire. Imagine the worst gym sock you've ever encountered, the kind that makes you gag. Now multiply that by 1,000 suns. You get the picture. It was a smell that could knock you off your feet. The Oregon Highway Division, yes, you heard that right, was in charge. They were more accustomed to fixing potholes and clearing debris. They didn't sign up for this. Handling a massive, decomposing whale was not in their job description. Nobody signs up for this. The smell was so bad people had to cover their noses just to get close. But they had a road to protect, and the whale was too big to ignore, and a whale-sized problem blocking it. The whale was not just a nuisance, it was a massive obstacle that needed to be dealt with immediately. So, what do you do with a rotting whale carcass the size of a school bus? It's not a question you hear every day, but it's one that demands an answer when faced with such a massive, decaying problem. If you answered, "Call marine biologists," congratulations, you'd be taking a logical and scientific approach to the situation. You're smarter than the Oregon Highway Division in 1970. They were faced with this exact dilemma and came up with a rather unconventional solution. Their solution? Dynamite. Half a ton of it. Yes, you heard that right. They decided to blow it up, because nothing says problem solved like blowing up a giant, decaying sea mammal. The idea was to disintegrate the whale into tiny pieces. Their logic? The explosion would obliterate the whale, turning it into small, manageable bits. Tiny bits of whale would then be eaten by seagulls and crabs, effectively cleaning up the mess. Problem solved, right? Spoiler alert, nope. The explosion sent large chunks of whale blubber flying in all directions, causing more chaos than resolution. People had to dodge flying debris, and the beach was left in an even worse state. It was a messy, smelly disaster that went down in history. On November 12th, history was made. Crowds gathered. Cameras clicked. The button was pushed. Boom! A plume of sand and whale guts shot into the air. It was like a scene from a low-budget monster movie, but with more blubber. Remember that half-ton of dynamite? Yeah, it turns out that's a bit excessive. Instead of neatly separating into bite-sized pieces, the whale basically exploded. And I mean exploded. Section 4 Blubber Rain. What goes up must come down. Chunks of whale rained down on the horrified onlookers. Cars were buried in blubber. Houses were splattered with whale goo. One poor guy, a quarter-mile away, got a whale-sized surprise while enjoying a picnic. Let's just say he didn't finish his sandwich. The smell? Oh, we haven't even gotten to the smell. Remember that gym sock analogy? Multiply that by 1,000 exploding suns. You're getting close. Section 5. Aftermath and Reactions. The aftermath was chaos. The scene was a mix of confusion and disbelief as people tried to make sense of what had just happened. The explosion had left a trail of destruction, and the air was thick with the smell of blubber and debris. People were finding whale bits for weeks. Pieces of the whale were scattered far and wide, landing on rooftops, cars, and even in nearby towns. It became a grim scavenger hunt, with locals and officials alike trying to clean up the mess. The smell lingered for months. It was a stench that clung to everything, a constant reminder of the bizarre event. Residents complained about the odor which seemed to seep into their homes and businesses, making daily life unpleasant. The Oregon Highway Division, meanwhile, tried to explain themselves. They held press conferences and issued statements, attempting to justify their decision to use dynamite on the whale carcass. They said the sand was supposed to absorb the blast. They blamed the wind. According to their explanation, the unexpected shift in wind direction had caused the debris to spread much further than anticipated. Mostly, they just looked embarrassed. The officials were visibly uncomfortable, knowing that their plan had backfired spectacularly. Their faces were red with shame as they faced the public and the media. Newspapers had a field day. "Whale of a blast blubber bomb," the headlines wrote themselves. Journalists from all over the country descended on the small town, eager to cover the bizarre story. It became a media sensation, with headlines that captured the absurdity of the situation. The incident became a legend, a cautionary tale whispered in hushed tones. Don't mess with exploding whales. It was a story that would be told and retold, a bizarre chapter in the town's history that no one would ever forget. The exploding whale became a symbol of human folly and the unpredictable power of nature. Section 6, Lessons Learned? So what did we learn from the exploding whale of Florence? Well, for starters, dynamite is not a viable solution for whale disposal. Who knew, right? More importantly, some things are better left to the professionals, like, say, marine biologists. And if a whale ever washes up on your local beach, run. Run far, far away, and maybe pack a nose clip. You've been warned.